And thanks for joining us. Today is Friday, July 14th.
Coming up this morning on DC News Now, concerns over swimming safety after 2 people nearly drowned at a pool in DC.
This on one of the hottest days of the year so far. And Jackie, how much more heat are we expecting today?
Yeah, yesterday we reached a high of 96 degrees. Today we'll see a high right around 90 at least in the district, upper 80s elsewhere. And those 90s likely sticking around through the weekend. More details looking towards the rest of that 7 day coming up.
Also coming up, Governor Youngkin encouraging people in Virginia to vote early. How that could affect the General Assembly with every seat up for re-election.
And over-the-counter birth control receives federal approval for the first time ever. Why some advocates say the decision comes at a critical time.
The station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
All right, good morning. Your time right now is 6 o'clock. We're starting off with a live look outside on this Friday morning. Thanks for starting your day with us. I'm Tanaya Wright.
Good morning. I'm Tosin Fakile, and Shanika has your drive times this morning. And Jackie is here talking about the weather. It was hot yesterday, and are we about to have a repeat of that today?
Not quite as hot as yesterday, thankfully. Yes, yesterday we did reach a high of 96 degrees. So yesterday.
What do you call it? Weather you can wear?
Oh, that's the air you can wear. I like to talk about that with the humidity.
Oh, that's what it felt like
hits you right when you step out the door. So I like to say it just like you can wear it. But out there this morning, we're taking a live look over Hagerstown. You may have noticed when we took that live shot of the Washington Monument, seeing the clouds in the district. Not as many clouds in Hagerstown right now. It's likely that that cold front has cleared that area, but we're still dealing with some cloud cover in our eastern zones, along with this trough that is producing some of those rain showers. Those are mainly down towards southern Virginia at this point. The rest of our area, it is a dry start to the day. Could be dealing with some of those spotty afternoon showers and thunderstorms bubbling up with the heating of the day, but we're not tracking a washout by any means for your Friday. Those temperatures out there right now, 60s back out towards our west, 70s DC, Hagerstown, you're coming in at 71, 72. In Fredericksburg, those dew points are into the 60s, so a bit more on the muggy side, but we'll be humid out there later on this afternoon. Those high temperatures right around 90, and then we're also looking at those high temperatures right around 90 this weekend. More details coming up. Shanika is here with the Encore and look at those roads.
All right, let's check out Northern Virginia. We're looking at 66 east and west through Falls Church, and everything is looking A-OK this morning. Now, when you're looking at 7, right past 7 is where we had an issue there, but they did clear that up. So everything, again, is clear. Let's flip over. We are dealing with a crash out of Maryland. So this is along BW Parkway. That's the ramp to get onto Riverdale Road 410. So do use caution in this area.
All right, Shanika, thank you. Your time right now, 6:02 on this Friday morning.
A quick look at your Know and Go headlines this morning. First up, DC police are searching for at least 3 suspects in the murder of a construction worker near Howard University. Police say Rafael Gomez was shot and killed when a group of people tried to rob him. This is the second shooting of its kind in the district in just 1 week.
And Montgomery County police say they've caught 6 retail thieves that struck across the county. Investigators say the group includes a 13-year-old, 2 16-year-olds, and a 17-year-old.
The World Health Organization is now considering the artificial sweetener aspartame as a possible cause of cancer. It's commonly found in diet sodas, gum, and has been approved by the FDA since 1974. However, a conflicting report from the FDA says the sweetener is safe in recommended doses. All right, coming up on 6:03 now, developing this morning, DC police releasing new photos of 2 men wanted in connection to the 4th of July mass shooting that happened in Northeast. Now, these are the men right here police are looking for. 9 people, including a teenager and child, were injured in that shooting. It all happened during a block party on Meade Street. Investigators say it was a drive-by shooting. All of the victims are expected to be okay. And 2 people in critical condition this morning after nearly drowning at a pool in Northeast DC.
Yeah, it happened at the Theodore Higgins Cultural Center in the Fort Lincoln neighborhood. And that's where we find our Lex Juarez this morning. And Lex, a good Samaritan jumped in to help. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And because of that community member knowing how to do CPR, this man and the woman are both alive this morning. Now, that community member jumped in and helped resuscitate them along with paramedics and first responders. And it really highlights the importance of knowing how to do CPR.
That I've been able to teach it for 15 years or so, but at the same time I'm thankful that I knew enough just to be able to do that, just to be able to give folks a chance.
Well, the two people were airlifted to a local hospital where they're receiving treatment. According to the CDC, an average of over 4,000 people die from drowning every year. Double that amount end up in the hospital because of a drowning incident. This is why pool rules are important. While the city's Department of Parks and Recreation does have lifeguards on staff, there are other measures in place for everyone's safety. These include making sure that kids are supervised by an adult at all times. If a child is younger than 6, pool rules are to have them within arm's length of an adult when they're in the pool. There also needs to be multiple adults present when there are groups of children coming to the pool. And as we see with what happened yesterday, anyone can drown, not only children. That's why it's important to not only make sure that you're aware of what's going on when you're at the pool and paying attention, but also making sure that you're following any of those posted pool rules. Live in Washington, I'm Lex Juarez, DC News Now.
Thank you, Lex. Your time right now is 6:05 this morning. Maryland is now recording its first heat-related death of 2023. According to the State Health Department, a 52-year-old Cecil County man died because of the heat. This serves as a reminder to make sure you take precautions as the temperatures continue to climb. First up, make sure you drink plenty of fluids, but avoid alcohol, caffeine, or overly sweetened drinks. Wear loose-fitting, lightweight clothing. Wear sunscreen and make sure you stay in the shade whenever possible, and schedule any outdoor activities for when it is supposed to be a bit cooler. And remember, never leave children, the elderly, or pets in a car, even with the windows cracked.
Your time right now, 6:05, and DC News Now is your local election headquarters. Political analysts are weighing in on Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin's recent push, encouraging Republican voters in his state to vote early using the Secure Your Vote web portal. The voter panel is created by the Republican Party of Virginia and in partnership with other Virginia caucuses. All 140 Virginia General Assembly seats are up for re-election in November. One analyst says Governor Youngkin's hard push for early voting could reflect how the party is feeling.
One, that the Republicans do feel like they can win back the Senate this fall, that this election is winnable for sure. On the other hand, it does suggest a certain amount of insecurity as well, that Republicans are worried that if they aren't able to close this gap, that they're vulnerable to losing in the fall.
Early voting in Virginia begins September 22nd. Meantime, Governor Youngkin is expected to announce a record level of fundraising for the second quarter of this year. According to Spirit of Virginia, his campaign raised nearly $6 million. That surpasses the amount of any previous governor of Virginia that has raised in an entire year, bringing his total fundraising for the year to $8.5 million. And at 6:07, we're checking in on our schools this morning as local leaders prepare for the start of the new year.
The Washington County Health Department is reminding families about the upcoming back-to-school vaccination clinic. They are being held on weekdays from 1 until 7 p.m. at the Washington County Health Department. Vaccines are offered for measles, mumps, and other infections. Local leaders say parents should not feel anxious about the vaccinations. The local health department is ready to answer any questions you might have.
These are the vaccinations that we've all had as children. They're the vaccines that we're all familiar with. We just want to make sure all of our kids have them in advance of getting back into the schools.
You can find the County Health Department on Pennsylvania Avenue in Hagerstown.
And we're continuing our coverage this morning on the woman found murdered underneath a Hagerstown bridge in May. 37-year-old Rochella DeSandra was described by all who knew her as loving and caring. They say she was also experiencing homelessness before she died. Now her family is working to make sure her death was not in vain and also working to get help for other people who are unhoused in that area.
I thought, how can we honor her? And because she worked part-time at Martin, she was still homeless. And how can we honor the homeless, the people that knew her friends, her family? So we came up with the idea to have an event here at the city park and offer them food, drinks, resources, all kinds of hygiene products. Just make it a special day for them and to keep her memory alive.
The group plans to have another event before it gets cold outside to gather supplies for those experiencing homelessness. Meanwhile, police continue to search for DeSandra's killer.
And the company that owns and operates the Dulles Greenway is trying to raise the tolls during peak hours by almost 40%. They filed a request with the state to raise the rates to about $8.10 during rush hour. Legislation passed back in 2021 requires the Virginia State Cooperation Commission to approve any rate hikes. Some officials say this protects drivers from unfair price gouging. Drivers say prices on the roadways are already too high. They say they will be using different routes to avoid these tolls.
That's insane. That's a lot of money, like $8 just for one way. I make sure I plan my day out to take like an extra 20 minutes just to make sure I get around.
I think the tolls are already too high. Long term, I'd like to see a solution where we're driving down toll rates and we're getting to a place where everyone can afford driving on this road.
The agency says it will accept public comment on the request before any changes to the rates are made.
And the battle to change rules that currently restrict the number and distance of flights in and out of Reagan National Airport continues. And the fight over DCA's flight limits could stall approval of a larger package to fund the FAA. The plan is facing resistance from other lawmakers who say the change would create delays and safety risks. Many lawmakers are pushing for more flights and long-distance flights at Reagan Airport. However, officials say they are confident they'll be able to reach a compromise.
There's so many other equities in that bill that have to get done for the safety of the entire American public that flies.
It's always been about the free market. It's always been about how to make sure that the consumer is prioritized. Best price, best value, best convenience.
And that bill would add 28 new round-trip flights out of DCA.